What's good, DWA fam? This is Jared. Don't forget to leave a review, rating, or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Hey y'all, and if you're new here, welcome to the family. My name is Asia.
My name is Jared, and thank you for listening to
Done with Adulting Podcast. We are really glad you're here because we're talking all things we have to do as adults that no one warned us about during the many years we were in school.
Yes, we also discuss pop culture, current events, and give our perspective on hot topic issues in our society. And even though we're best friends, we don't always agree.
Basically, we're millennials. We get it. Adulting is hard. Welcome to your safe space.
We hope you enjoy.
I'm so excited for this episode. Oh, I didn't tell you I started recording.
Jesus Christ.
We're just keeping that part in. Aren't you excited for this?
Yeah, no, we're excited for the listeners to hear it. It was a dope episode.
I feel like literally the number one thing in adulting is like, I can't get enough. There's not enough hours in the day to get the shit done that we need to get done.
And we learned a lot on how to be productive and get those things done and just be more organized and
live our best lives.
Yeah. And it's funny because as she was telling us like all these different like tricks and things like that, I saw you just type it into
I was taking notes.
A little note sheet.
I was taking notes.
That's a good point.
I've been trying to implement that stuff.
And as soon as it was done, we're like, oh, we should start doing that.
Yeah, literally.
And look, now we're like a month ahead in episodes. Like, come on.
Shout out. So
that's why we try to bring you great content. So
we're trying. Year 3.
Learn just like we are.
Year 3. We're really gonna bring the gems. But no, we interviewed a productivity coach. Did you know that was a thing? Because I did not.
I didn't until you reached out to me and said, "Oh, I got a guest," and I was like, "What? Okay, F it."
We interviewed a productivity coach. Her name is Kierra Asnauskus. I always feel like I'm going to mess that up, but I don't think I did. And I've discovered her via another podcast, a popular podcast, like number 1 podcast in the world. She was a guest, and I was like, let me get her on DWA before this woman becomes famous in her own right. So she's just preaching to us about how we can be productive and not like drive ourselves crazy. And yeah, it's so good. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So yeah, we're going to get right into it.
Enjoy.
Let's do it. Okay, we are so excited for this interview. I've been really excited for this for weeks, and I reached out to this guest while you were on your little paternity leave, Jared.
I think it's hilarious you keep calling it that.
Well, that's what it was. You were gone for like
I guess that's what it is. Yeah.
And I heard her on another podcast that I love, the Gold Digger podcast, which is like wildly famous. And I thought to myself, like, I have to get her on Done with Adulting before her page just blows up, like going crazy.
She's too busy before she's looking busy.
Exactly. So I know. So Kierra, we're so excited to have you. I want to introduce Kierra Asnauskus. Please welcome to the podcast. Tell us about what you do, who you are, what we're going to talk about today. I'm just so excited. I just want to jump right in.
Hey guys, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to do this interview, seriously. And no, I'm still going to remain humble throughout this entire journey. I don't care what happens or whose platform I'm on. So no, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm Kierra Asnauskus. I'm a productivity and lifestyle design strategist. And I teach coaches, course creators, and service-based entrepreneurs how to conquer their chaotic schedules, guarantee their goals, and become productive bosses without having to sacrifice their self-care. So that's
come on.
That's my zone of genius. That's what I love to do.
What was that term you used? Lifestyle design? What was that?
I was going to ask what that actually means.
Lifestyle design strategist. So,
I love that.
Basically using the art of telling your time where to go to design a lifestyle that's in alignment with your personality, your passions, and your purpose. So that's what it's about. It's about designing a life that when you look at it, it's like so uniquely yours. And yeah, it's one of my, that's one of the things I geek out over.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like work-life balance a little bit. That's the main goal.
Yeah, exactly. I like to call it work-life harmony, because I truly don't believe that balance in terms of work and life exists, but harmony, absolutely. And
she's preaching learned already.
Yeah. I'm like, let me get my notebook out.
Yeah, no, she's preaching already.
No, and I mean, I learned about lifestyle design from Tim Ferriss. I'm sure you guys have heard of Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week and all that. And I know that when I read that book, so some years back, I felt like I interpreted it so differently than maybe he intended or the way other people interpreted it. But I just saw a guy like who's trying to figure out how he wants to live his life. And if that's like what his ideal was, then that was fine. But I can do the same for myself, even if I didn't necessarily like want to live the same life that he did. And I just was so inspired by him. So that's when I took on this whole lifestyle design.
Yeah. So I know from listening to your other episode, your journey to this part of your life is like such an interesting story. And so could you just talk a little bit about that? And also like, this is the first, like you're the first productivity coach like I've ever met, like in terms of this as like an industry, I guess. I don't really like that word, but in terms of just like this field of work, like I feel like you might be a trailblazer in this. Maybe I'm wrong because you're the only person I know, but please like give us the rundown on like sort of how you ended up here and then like what it looks like for you within like this work, I guess, working with others.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is amazing that you would say that. But there's definitely some that came before.
I'm like, I ain't never met a productivity coach in my life, so you must be the only one.
It's so funny that you say that, because I'm thinking like number one person I think of when I think of productivity, time management, I think of Brian Tracy. But he is, God bless him, so he's old, right? Like, but I love him. That is like who I learned from. That is like who I admire in this space. But there are obviously like others, but I can see why you would, because even when I type in Instagram productivity, there are not a lot of productivity coaches that come up. I mean, if you think about it, there's over 1 billion people on the platform and only a handful show up. So that's probably true, but I didn't get here thinking, oh, this is what I'm going to do, right? It was, I was sitting in my classroom in Zagreb, Croatia. I was studying for my MBA in HR. And just a couple weeks prior to sitting in that class, I had went on this business retreat in Malta with Glow Tanmo. I don't know if you know her, but she's at Glow Graphics on Instagram. And so she was hosting a business retreat for women out in Malta, and Croatia, Malta, not too far away. So I flew over there, and I was telling the ladies there, it was like a little small mastermind. I was telling them about my idea to host luxury vision board workshops on cruise ships. Like that was my original business idea.
That sounds pretty dope.
That sounds lit. Like,
yeah, can't lie.
First of all, my family are big cruisers.
Yeah.
And that is totally something I would do if I was on a cruise.
And I know a lot of people do get together for like vision board parties. And,
yeah.
That sounds pretty dope.
And I mean, I used to work on a cruise ship, so I know that there are a lot of activities you have to have while people are on the cruise, especially if you have like a 7-day cruise with a couple of sea days, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking that's how it would operate, right? So I'm presenting this idea to them, and they're just giving me that validation, y'all. Like they gassing me up, right? So I'm thinking, oh, I can do this, right? So when I get back to Croatia, I'm like, I couldn't think about anything else but Miss Unconventional, but building out this business, but seeing what I can do with it, right? And so it just so happened that the what do you call it? The assignment that we had to do was like a career planning assignment. And we had to take a series of these personality tests, and based on our results, like just, create a plan for our career. And I'm sure like the intention was to plan an HR-based career because that was what we were in. That was what we were in the program for. But I thought, oh, perfect opportunity to present to them that I will no longer be matriculating through this program with them, and I'm going full-time entrepreneur. And it just so happened that my husband had got to Croatia the same day that I was going to do this, and I hadn't told him about this yet, so he was going to find out when everybody else found out.
Was he your husband at that time as well? Was he already? Okay.
He was.
So it's a total shock for everybody.
Absolutely. He's sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just going to come with her since, you know, she has to do this presentation and we're going to go eat. No, I literally like dropped the bomb on everybody. And like my teacher, everybody was just looking like, what? And so that's what I did. Like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, we packed up, I left, and I hosted my first vision board workshop in Atlanta for 2019 NYE, New Year's Eve. And so it was amazing. In that moment, the way I felt hosting that event, guys, like I knew this was it, right? Like in terms of just being in business for myself and doing this. And so, yeah, I proceeded into 2020 thinking that, you know, all was well. And then 3 months in, COVID happened.
Yeah. Okay,
and I'm
can
like,
I just pause for a second? I just want to clarify. You literally quit your MBA in that moment on the spot. I have to just call that out because I love that. I love that energy. I feel like, especially when we're like going through just life and adulting and you're in a routine and you're like, you get on a track, and also like other people's opinions, right? Like if you
like society,
like having the courage to literally just quit your MBA, like at the end, I'm sure there were people who hyped you up, but also people that were like, girl, are you crazy?
Yeah, I was about to say, people were probably looking at you like you're wild.
Yes. No, like, they were,
wow,
especially because we
that's
only
amazing.
had 4 classes left to graduate. And I was already fully paid. I already fully paid for the program.
Oh my God. But I love that. I love that you had like the courage to just be like, fuck it. We're like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't have made that decision. So
I know, but you know, what's so interesting though about it is like the way that I was thinking of it. I'm like, I can always come back and get this degree and finish up, right? You see people going back to school when they're in the 40s, 50s, whatever. But I was like, I can never be certain that I'll have this type of momentum, this type of motivation to do this thing again, this type of like courage to do this thing. I was like, I don't know if that will come back around. So while I'm feeling it now, I'll go ahead and seize this opportunity. The worst thing that can happen is I fall flat on my ass. I lose a lot of money. But the special thing, the great thing about it is my ass is layered with fat, so it will eventually heal. You know, and then on top of that, I can always, like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, they always hiring, so I can always make more money. Yeah. So here we are. I'm thinking about worst case scenario. Those were the 2 worst case scenarios. So I made peace with them ahead of time and decided that I was just going to go for it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Amazing. That's like goals. Like I feel so like, I also think too, like the way because part of it, I think financially is like money, and the topic of money for so many people is like this daunting, like bill paying, scary thing that we all go through. And so, but you just said it so simply, like there are so many jobs out there, and it's kind of like, money
always can make more.
Yeah, like money is abundant, and so it's like if you accept that and know that and like understand, like if you fall flat, I don't know, it's just such an interesting perspective because I feel like people don't think like that. But so I've heard when you quit something like and dive into something else, that's when it kind of takes off versus like doing like having your fallback plan, because when you don't have like your full-time fallback plan, like you're forced to just like take whatever you're doing to the next level. That's what I've heard.
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Kind of. I don't know. I've heard that from other entrepreneurs. Like when I quit my full-time, like my business took off because
you put more energy. Yeah, you put more effort and energy.
Like that was that was the only thing I had. Like I had to make money and it was all I had. So I don't know. Sorry, Jared. I didn't know if you were going to ask something.
Oh, no. Actually, I just want to go back to, I guess, the start of 2020. So how did COVID and the pandemic, how did that affect what you had going on? Or what you were trying to start?
So during the Well, the first couple of months of 2020, I was on top of the world, right? Like my husband and I had set out to do 12 cities in 12 months. We thought we were just going to be living in a different city each month, right? So that's the energy we had. That's what we were on. And then
shout
on
out to
top,
hubby for the support, willing to just
he
travel
is
around.
so supportive. Like, I was like, why do you love me so much? It's uncomfortable. Stop. No, no, I loved it. And he's still like that. But we were, so we were on that journey. But in addition to that, I had just invested in a mastermind, right? And was planning on investing in this very expensive like program that teaches you how to, craft your signature offer, all that stuff, right? So this is like all the investments I'm making. We're good. We had just hit financial independence, with our investments and everything. So we were good, and it was a good time. Then in March, we had decided, oh, it's not sustainable to keep moving around and grow a business. So we got to settle down somewhere. We decided that was Dallas. We got here, and literally a week or two later, we got quarantined, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, it's the perfect time to go ahead and invest in that program about the signature offer. I'm like, because how can I take this idea of, vision boarding and goal setting and all that and turn it into a profitable online business, without even having to go on the ship. And so that was like what I was going towards, is like switching from physical to virtual. And so, and that's what I did in the beginning. Came out
It's
with
like
a lot
everything
of,
else, basically. Like every other industry, everything else went from in person to virtual. So you just kind of made that same switch.
yeah, exactly. Because to be quite honest with you, I didn't even think about doing the vision boards virtually before that, which is crazy because you would think, oh, that's the natural thing to think about.
Yeah. It
But
could be so
no.
much easier. Yeah.
But I feel like before 2020, we weren't like, obviously we were online and doing social media, but we like, it wasn't so much like virtually focused as the world is now and businesses are now. And it's such an advantage because you can
Facts.
reach so much
Yeah.
more people. So it's like one of the good things that I feel like came out of the pandemic related to just like business and entrepreneurship, because you can reach so many more people.
Yeah. It's crazy. It took a pandemic for us to realize.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
For us to be forced to home. But I know we actually have a lot of listeners in the Northeast. I feel like I was under the impression that Texas never really shut down.
Oh God.
That's a fair assumption. Like, if you want to talk about based on the rest of the world, we were shut down for like maybe a month, 2 months. I feel like completely shut down.
Yeah.
But after a while, it got like, more lax, and then obviously we became like the enemy of the state of the country, I think. But it wasn't me. I was chilling.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it.
That's so funny. So you moved your business like to virtual. So throughout 2020, are you doing like virtual vision board workshops? Like what does that look like for you? And
so this looked like a whole bunch of experimenting, right? Like with different like digital products, one-on-one coaching, virtual vision boards and all that stuff. But in these programs, they tell you to niche down, meaning get more specific with what you do and who you serve. And so for me, they were like, no, lifestyle design, that's too damn broad. Nobody's going to know what you're talking about. And nobody uses that word but you and Tim Faye. This is what I'm saying. Like, people were trying to get me to be more specific, and I was struggling during the whole year just to really figure out who I was going to serve and how I was going to serve them, and what type of I help statement was going to be sufficient enough for my coaches at the time. It was because everyone, they're like, nope, that's not specific enough. Nope. Wow. So I finally started listening to people who were around me, like, and what they praise me, sort of not praise me for, but what they praise me for, like, what do they think that I'm good at? What are they always saying? And man, when my one mastermind sister used my name as a verb, she for her as her action word for the month, because we used to always select words of the month, like an intention. And she was like, I want a Kierra this month, like basically like, and she was using it in terms of like being more productive with her time. Yeah. And when I heard her say that, and I don't think she knows this, but that was like a light bulb. I'm like, oh, this is like the fourth time that I've heard them like say I'm being productive and all this. I was like, this is it. This is my lane, you know? But it was her doing that made me realize it was my lane. And once I ran and started paving that lane, things got so much easier in my business. Like I was able to kind of like narrow my focus with my messaging and my posts and everything like that. So it just became this thing towards the end. But that was towards the end of the year. So it took a minute to get here. I don't even want to tell y'all all the different stuff that I tried, like the digital products that like, it was just.
Well, that's what they always say. You never see, it takes like so many fails to get to the success. So
absolutely.
I believe it.
Can you actually take us through, I guess, what a virtual workshop with you will look like?
Yes, like I know you have a couple types of different services, right? Like you have one-on-one. What's like your favorite service to offer, and like what would it look like if somebody hired you as like a productivity coach? Also, if
in a benefit,
spill any secrets, we're ready. We are ready.
Absolutely. Okay. So my absolute favorite way to work with people is one-on-one. And I know that that's crazy because everybody in the coaching industry, they're always trying to figure out how can I do group? How can I scale? How can I make the most money by impacting the most? And I'm like, no, get me in the room with you one-on-one so we can really get down to the nitty-gritty of what's holding you back. Like, because everybody's different in my opinion.
Seems more authentic too. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can just I can actually feel like your personality. You can feel mine. Like, and I feel like I'm not the coach for everybody. I'm at peace with that, but I need them to know like one-on-one how I am so they can tell like if they want to work with me long term. Yeah. Because I'm not the type of coach that can, I'm not going to play nice with you all the time, right? Like if you really wanted that, you just go to a friend. You wouldn't pay someone. You wouldn't pay me, a couple $1,000s to coach you if you just wanted me to be nice the whole time and let you do what you do and not like hold you accountable, right? So I have that little bit of the sass that my clients love, that they need, that they feel like they need in order to get things done. And so I love to coach one-on-one. And when I bring people in to coach them one-on-one, we always start with a complete assessment of an audit, basically, of what they're doing right now, what's working, what's not working. And I have them get really detailed. Like I ask some very, very specific questions about their lifestyle. And then we start working on the self-awareness portion, because a lot of people who come to me, that's the reason behind their stress, their overwhelm, is the root of it is the lack of self-awareness and a lack of knowing their end goal, their end game, their vision, I call it the Lux vision. They don't know what that is, but it's oftentimes because they've never been asked or have asked themselves the right questions to get to the root of what they truly want. And so we have to start there. And the next thing I do is like, when we get down into the systems, when we get down into the goal setting and all that, the first thing I ask them is like, okay, what's your non-negotiable self-care day before we do anything else? And they're like, what? Non-negotiable self-care? I'm like, what's your non-negotiable self-care day where you're just going to fill up your cup and worry about you, every day for, once a week for each month or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, Kierra, I can't take off a whole day in a week. I'm like, absolutely you can. Let's just schedule that now and then we can move on. So I make them incorporate self-care before, because what happens with productivity is like it can get lumped in with that toxic hustle culture. You know what I mean? People are like, productivity, time management. They're like, oh, I got to be on, I got to do. And that's what they think productivity is. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm redefining it right here, right now. It's not. It's about doing the right things at the right time for the right reasons. And so, and so knowing that's what productivity is, and we are going to make sure that we do it the healthy way, so that you're not feeling like every day you have to be on it. Every day you have to be doing,
that's how I feel,
a million different things. Cause it's not, that's not being productive. It's just being busy.
Yeah. And that's how you burn yourself out. Yeah. You burn yourself out and then you're not able to be productive.
Absolutely. And then you just like, sometimes I just have so much guilt because I'm like, I know I should be doing this, but like I'm choosing to do this, or like, I don't know. It's just, it gets so, I feel like so many people can relate to that, is like feeling like you should always be productive or like using your time wisely. And then when you don't, you have like all this guilt and like self-talk that's bad. And like, I don't know, it's so relatable, I feel like. So I love that you start with self-care, because that is super important to me too.
It's okay to give
80%
back
of
to yourself.
Yeah. 80% of what people are doing though to fill up that time is shallow tasks anyway. So it's not they're not needle moving tasks. They're not tasks that are going to actually move the needle in your life or business. And so you could be doing them all day long, but if you're doing a whole bunch of shallow tasks or a whole bunch of tasks that don't really mean anything for your end game, then you're just being busy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you also
Some
have a
people like that
podcast.
though, which is the
Yeah.
problem.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I would love an example, because you also have a podcast, right? So it
Mhm.
related to podcasting, since that's the platform we're on right now. For you,
Okay.
like, what do you consider a shallow podcasting task for yourself versus a needle moving task? Like, if you could just go into those terms a little bit more.
Sure. Shallow task for me would be editing.
Hate it.
So I don't edit. And until I can grow the podcast to where it's bringing in income, or people are, doing a buy me a coffee thing and they can actually help me run this podcast. Because listen, I'm giving you content for free. So you're going to listen to this unedited version until we get to a point where we can bring someone on to have it edited. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's the exchange for me, but that's a shallow task for me. Needle moving, obviously, actually recording the content. Even a shallow task for podcast would be the topics. I get, my editor, she was working on some research stuff for me for my book and everything. I had her like just craft a list of topics under my niche that I could, talk about. And I just go sometimes into what she had already created, and I pick a topic that she was, interested in, because she is like a ideal avatar as well, like for my own niche. So I'm like, I got a lot of feedback from her about what the question she had, what she'd want me to talk about and everything. And so I just pick one from that, and I, talk about that. So basically, how you choose the content for your podcast, even for you all, you could easily have someone reach out to people that you want to be on the podcast, right? Like on your behalf. Now, sometimes people just want that personal touch. And I am like that too. I want the personal touch. So I'll personally reach out to people, but that could be considered a shallow task with podcasting, because you don't necessarily have to be the one. Like, for example, with Jenna Kutcher, like yes, I was in touch with her because we were in the same room. We met physically, but she then put me in contact with her podcast manager, who did the rest of the planning, which is something that you all could do one day if you decide, that that's how you want to run your podcast. But that would have been a shallow task for her to do all the planning of our of the episode. So if that's what you mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, think about all the things that are repeatable, that don't require your zone of genius, right? Your zone of genius. And then you delegate that to someone who thrives in that area. They love to do it. There's somebody out there that loves editing podcasts, and I'm going to make sure I hire them whenever I'm ready, but I personally don't.
It sounds like all the behind the scenes tasks. Yep. That the listeners or other people don't really see.
Sometimes we enlist Jared's wife, Emily, to help us with that. So shout out to her for the help.
That's awesome. Yeah.
She's so good at that. Okay. So I kind of am hoping you can give us like some insight, and you can use me or Jared as an example, but I feel like we both have so many things. Just having a podcast in general on the side is like an extra thing on our day-to-day life. So my really broad question is like, if you could give us or listeners like 3 major, just like productivity hacks almost, like I know
how to make us better.
Your coaching, you probably go weeks and weeks into work and tips and stuff like that. But if you had to sort of shrink it down into like what you could leave us with related to how to be more productive or like hack our productivity, how would you help us with that?
Okay.
I know.
Let me see if I can distill, because there's so much.
So much. I will give like a little example too of like what I struggle with is like, so I obviously work full time, but I work remote, but my hours are basically 9 to 5. I do this podcast, obviously, which we have weekly content, which is a lot of content. And then I also am running like a network marketing business, which I love. And all these things I like equally love doing. I feel like I'm someone who gets bored easily. So I always am finding myself like dipping into and then most recently I told my old high school basketball coach that I would help him coach AAU 2 days a week at night. So like just taking on another additional
busy.
Yeah, but that's like so normal for me. Like I have issues saying no to people. That's something I'm working on. But also like these are all things that I love. Like basketball's an old passion of mine that I love. Like podcasting is a new passion that I found. My business is like another new passion. So it's like I love all these things equally. And then I struggle like Monday through Sunday figuring out how to like delegate my time to each one without like if I work on my business for 2 straight days and don't do anything for the podcast, I'm like, shit, like I gotta go like dedicate a day to the podcast, you know? So I feel like I'm always in a constant struggle with myself to be like, what am I gonna do this week? What am I gonna work on today? How much time do I have to do it? And then, you know, I get distracted easily. So it's like, I need to like lock my phone up or something and like just do this 2 hours. Like there's just so many things probably I could do better. But
Absolutely.
Right now I'm balancing like 4 different things and it feels like 50 different things.
Okay. So thank you for that. That gives me a lot because it gives me a lot to work with because now I can kind of pinpoint the problem. The first problem I can identify is that you're probably not batch working. You're probably not batch creating when it comes to your podcast side of like of the task that you have. And then also I would even say maybe with the network marketing, because that might be something that you can batch to. So we'll get to that, what I mean by that. The second thing, boundaries. This is my favorite topic in terms of under the umbrella of productivity. Boundaries is my favorite topic because so many people lack boundaries with themselves, with their spouse, with their kids, with their colleagues, their clients,
jobs,
with their jobs. And so when you put in place boundaries, I promise you you're going to see that was the source of the overwhelm, the stress, and like knowing when to say no, knowing when to say, oh, you know what, I would love to do this, I just don't have the capacity to do it right now. Like being able to like have those professional ways of saying no, because I know some people are not sassy like me and can't just be like, nope, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth.
I don't have the bandwidth, right? And that's like the way of getting smart without getting smart, but it is. But I say that to say, if you want like some really actionable steps, the one thing that I would tell you to do is just look at your network marketing business, right? Figure out what is required to be successful in that field at the stage that you're at in your business, right?
Okay.
So I want you to ask yourself, what are the actual tasks that would lead to success for this particular network marketing business? Like, what should I be spending 80% of my time within this bucket doing? All right. So if that's network marketing is all about meeting people, right? Leads, getting in front of people, talking to them. So you need to figure out, okay, what day are you free from your 9 to 5 and from podcasting when you can just focus on getting leads? All right. And you can be very creative with that. And maybe some of those ways that you find leads could be something that you delegate to someone on Fiverr. I don't know, but like, but I'm just saying, like, are there some different things that you can do to get the leads? And is there a specific day of the week that you can just dedicate to that task? And then everything else that needs to be done outside of actually talking face to face or on the phone with leads, could that be spread out throughout the week? With podcasting, could you guys select a specific day of the month or 2 days out of a month, 3 days out of a month when you do nothing but just record with people, right? Like you just batch record, have
Batch
these,
record,
like
yep.
after me, take an hour and a half break and then have somebody else come on to interview. After that, have an hour and a half break and then have one more person come on. And now you have 3 episodes that can then go, you can send them off to someone on Fiverr to edit for you. You don't necessarily have to do that. Between the both of you, maybe you can hire someone on Fiverr, right? And they can edit. And then once you have like an arsenal, once you've done that maybe 3 times out of the month, you have about 9 episodes and you just bang them out. And when it comes to then creating the content, creating the content that you have to use to promote the each episode,
that's the worst.
Again,
you have more time for
though,
that. Yeah.
No, forget about doing it. Forget it. It's a shallow task. It doesn't require your zone of genius. You can hire someone on Fiverr to listen to the episode, create Canva graphics, create a wave graphic for you. Those are things that do not require your specific zone of genius. So absolutely, it can be delegated out. And once someone understands your flow, your process, they can start banging out at least 3 to 5 posts per episode for you. Right? They can pull out a quote, something that I've said or you said. They pull it out, put it on a quote card on Canva. They can create like a sound wave link, with Wave. So whatever it is you want to do in terms of producing the content for your podcast, you can give that to someone else. Now, with your jobs, your 9-to-5 jobs, you guys know that any 9-to-5 job, they're getting about 4 hours, if they're lucky, 4.5 hours of productivity. Productivity out of you. And I know this for a fact. I've done the research. Okay. I was in an MBA program where I actually did research on people who work 40-hour work weeks in corporate jobs. And these people are working on average 4 hours out of their 8-hour day. No shade. And I'm not trying to, reveal anybody here, but that is the absolute truth. And that's just what's normal. That's just what's back across the board. So if you know that you're only productive at your job for 4.5 hours, ask yourself, what do I need to do in that 4.5 hours to make sure that my boss looks good, looks great, right? Like they're gonna look at me and be like, oh, Asia doing the damn thing. Oh, Jared is doing the damn thing. They're working hard, and they don't need to know that the other 4 hours you're doing whatever it is you do. All they care about is that you've gotten the task that you needed to get done. Right. And you've got it done in a specific way, in an efficient way. Does this make sense?
No, yes. Totally. And I feel like it's been heightened too as people have been working from home, that you really don't need to be working, quote unquote, for 8 hours of the day, 40 hours a week. You can get so much more done in that time frame that you were talking about.
Absolutely. And I just want, and I'm mentioning this because you guys have 9-to-5s. And I think some people who are shadowing 9-to-5s in entrepreneurship, they think it's okay to then just slack off and do the bare minimum in their job. Here's the thing, that job is your investor. It's the investor in your business, right? Like you're using this job to fund your dreams. So don't disrespect it by not showing up and showing out when you're there, right? Like, and it's an integrity thing too. I'm gonna convict some people who are listening right now.
You're about to convict me.
No, it's because I'm telling you, when you choose to operate at your highest level, even in your 9-to-5, you're going to carry that energy over into your business. And it's, and you never know who's going to see you operating as your highest self when you didn't have to, right? Because y'all at home, they're seeing you operating as your highest self, that you never know what kind of door they can open later on for your business down the line. You just got to always be showing up as your highest self, and I think that they're like, oh, well, it's the company, I'm not going to give them my all. Then don't collect that check. Then that's not fair. Because if somebody was working under you in your business, you would want them working, as their highest self if you're paying them, right, for a job to do. So all I'm saying is you give them 4.5 hours, give them 4.5 of the best hours you have, get the needle moving tasks done, let them see you doing the work, and then you can spend the other time doing what you got to do for you, but show up and show out in your 9-to-5 if that is your investor for your other businesses.
Yeah, I do love that you said that, because I do feel like my energy is different on days when I have a productive day at my full-time and I was like focused and I got stuff done and I like put my best foot forward. And then 5 o'clock comes, I take a break and then move into whatever side hustle I'm going to do. Like, I feel like that energy carries over for sure versus when I'm like fucking around all day.
Lackluster.
Yeah, like kind of just like bopping through the day. And then I get to the time in the evening where I want to work on my business and I bring like that same energy, which isn't productive at all. I had another question about what you said though, because one of the so we've like definitely outsourced in the past, like related to editing. We haven't done it with social media yet, although we know we need to, because both of us like it's major shadow test, like neither of us want to do it. But like at this point, similar to what you were saying earlier, like at this point we're not making any money from our podcast. It's something that, it's free content. We do it because we love it and we do want to get there at some point. But how do you, like, if we weren't in a position to maybe necessarily hire someone to edit or to do social media, how would you recommend batching social media as well, like similar to recording?
Absolutely. So if you have to do it on your own because you can't outsource, then choose a specific day where you do all of that work in one day, and you're not even spreading it out. It's just like, like sometimes when you drag it out over time, it's just even worse because you're like, oh, again. But if you get the thing that you hate doing done all in one sitting, you're like, oh, done. You feel like a sigh of relief. So I would say, much better. Yeah. Choose about, I don't know how you guys want to do it, but if I were you, let me just put myself in your shoes. If I were you, I would choose 4 days out of a month. Out of those 4 days, I'm gonna already have research who I want to have on the show, see if I can get them and if they're available to record on the recording days. I'm going to choose 2 of those days to be the recording days, right? And then the other 2 days, I am going to choose those days to do the editing, 1 day editing, 1 day content creation. And I'm going to make sure I have a system put in place for the type of content that I do for each episode. So let's say my system is that I always need to have 4 pieces of content per episode. So maybe that the 4 pieces are going to be one wavelength, like one wave post. You guys know what that is?
Yeah, where the sound comes through.
Yeah. So maybe my 4 pieces of content is that one of those, a quote card, a carousel of like the topics, and then like the person's face or whatever in like a caption. So like, batching all 4 of those, the captions, and just all you would do for that is you would turn it into Facebook, like a Facebook post. You would just make sure that you use the same content and just resize it in Canva to fit. And you're going to do that for each video. By the end of each month, you will have, hopefully, let's say you can get three interviews done in each day of the recording. So you did 2 of those, so 6. All right. So you'll have, by the end of each month, 6 recorded and edited podcasts with 4 pieces of content each. And you put it in a scheduler, right? Schedule it out, and boom, you have the next 6 weeks. And then the next month, before the next month, you're just batching it. And before you know, you have a backlog that has at least 3 episodes sitting there waiting if you get behind track. Does that make sense?
Yes, it sounds like a dream.
Yeah. And I mean, this is going to take some planning because this is a system, right? Once you put this, anytime you're implementing a system, it takes a lot of work to put together on the front end. But then once the system gets going, it's like smooth. It works like a well-oiled machine. You're just kind of like, so I would say the same way we just came up with the faux system for your podcasting, come up with the system for your business, your network marketing business. Come up with the system for your job, You know what's required of you, what you're being paid for in your job, and how you can. There's always a way in corporate America to do it more efficiently, because they like it seems like corporate America, they just want to do everything inefficiently. But you can figure out how to be more efficient in your role. You can let them be as inefficient as they want to be, but you can be more productive in your role. So asking yourself, what's my system going to be like when I first get to work? You know, like, what am I going to do first, second, third? And in the last half of the day, when I don't have as much energy, what shallow task should I put there to fill out the rest of the day? Boom. But give your first half of the day, the time where you have the most energy, do the needle moving task during that time, and whatever that may be.
Oh, I have another question. Do you have a question, Jared? Because I'm about to really I have so many popped in my head.
Blast away.
I was going to say, okay, so like maybe you can use yourself as an example too, like when you were growing your business. So let's say we have a listener who's like, has a side hustle that they love. It's their passion. It's their side business. They work full time, whatever. And we're picking days out of the month to like either batch our product or whatever it is, make the system. And then like, so like one of the days you pick is a weekend day because you work 9 to 5. So you think like, okay, maybe on Sunday I can like really dedicate this many hours to my business. And then like life and adulting, and you get asked to like go to this event or do this. And so how do you sort of manage sticking to like what you tell yourself you're going to do and like following through when you have all these other
when life happens
things coming at you? Yeah.
So the question is posed in a way that it makes someone think that you don't have control over your life. You don't have control over the responses you give to people when they ask you to do something, and then there are things you don't have control over, like accidents happen, emergencies pop up, those things, cool, we don't have control over, right? We can control how we react to them, but we can't control it happening. So what I tell you is that the things you can't control, like whether or not you accept an invitation to do something, take the opportunity to ask yourself, is this something that is going to impede on my ability to do something that's actually needle moving? The answer is yes, then you're going to have to respectfully decline, right? Unless you value that thing more than whatever it is going to conflict with. If you value, it's just all about asking yourself, do I value this task more than the thing it's about to conflict with? You know, you have to ask yourself these hard questions instead of feeling like you have no choice. You do have a choice. And maybe you're going to, piss some people off along the way because you're no longer as readily available as you used to be. And you're no longer as, accommodating as you used to be. People are going to need some time to get used to that, especially if you've been a yes woman for a long time. They're going to have to adapt, but I promise you they will adapt. You have to teach people how they will treat you. You have to teach people how to respect your time, your energy, and your sanity, your attention, right? Like you have to set those boundaries. And so I would just say to you, if you want to be the type of woman who keeps her promises to herself, then you're also going to have to be the type of woman that can say no unapologetically and let your no be your no, or not right now type of situation. So like, I just, this is all about being transparent with people too, about your goals, about what you're working towards, and how you just can't be as, readily available as you used to be. They will get it. They will understand. And if they don't, you got to leave them where they're at, love them from a distance.
Yeah. And I think that's something too that's hard. And like when you say keeping promises to yourself, because I'll be in positions where I'm like, I know I should do this and not say yes to this, but then I make an excuse. And then I'm like, this is why I feel like I need another vision board, because when you're on the journey, right? Like you're just on the journey. And sometimes I feel like it's so easy to lose sight of the end goal because it's far away or whatever. You're telling yourself it's far away, and you're like, just, doing this one day, like going to this one event it's just going to push my goal out like a day. You know what I mean? And it's easy to like justify that in your mind, So it's so hard. Like, I feel like I need
It's
something
about
that's gonna
discipline.
remind me. Yeah, discipline
It's
is.
about discipline. That's what
Oh,
that is. That's what you just described. You have to have discipline. And really, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but our confidence is actually directly correlated to the promises we keep to ourselves. If you think about every time you've done something that you said you were going to do, how you felt in that moment, like you felt like, man, I did that. Now, when you consistently keep promises to yourself, your confidence shoots through the roof.
Mm.
So I want you to think about that as well. A lot of people don't know that's why they lack, if they feel like they're not confident, they don't realize that their lack of confidence is actually rooted in the goals that they keep abandoning, the ambitions that they keep abandoning, right? Like, and it's just like destroying their self-confidence, destroying their self-esteem. And
wow.
so, yeah, just gonna
Do you think
explain that.
how important do you think, I guess, motivation is to productivity? And if a person's unmotivated, what they can do to, I guess, get motivated and improve their productivity?
I feel like motivation's the hardest thing. Like, I'm motivated like once a month, like to like actually. That's why I feel like where discipline comes in. But I don't know. That's just me.
Some days you just feel you're not feeling it, right?
Yeah, you're just not feeling it.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and again, that's discipline. But no, motivation. Did you guys see my post on Instagram about motivation?
I'm about to look right now.
I didn't.
Motivation is such a interesting thing, because so many people think that motivation comes from some outside source, right? Like, they'll maybe turn on like a podcast to get motivated, or they think they need like a coach to get motivated, or, something, right? They think it comes from an outside source, but actually motivation, if you think about like the word, that it comes from being in motion, right? If you're moving, if you're acting, if you're working towards your goals every single day, that's what's going to produce the motivation, because you're going to see yourself. Like, I want you to think about the last time that you tried to, get fit. And the moment that you started to see results, you were like, oh yeah, I'm in here. And you start going even harder. You know what I mean? But it's like, if you didn't do it long enough, if you didn't stay in motion long enough, you didn't see the result. So you're like no longer motivated, because you're like, oh, this is hard. But the moment you give yourself a little bit more runway and you start seeing just a little bit of result, you start like, oh, I got to get more. If I can do this, if I can look like this, I'm gonna do more. And then you start to get more. And it's all about staying in motion, all about staying consistent. It's the word consistency. If you're staying in motion, the motivation will come. If you're staying in motion, the motivation will come, because you're going to start seeing the results, the fruits of your labor, and it's going to make you want more, because that's how we're hardwired. Does that make sense?
That's the quote right there. That's the quote right there.
I feel like I'm at church right now. Yeah.
Is that going to be the wave?
Yeah. Whatever. Why don't we know what those things are called? No, that's facts. That's facts. It's so true. I laughed when you said trying to get fit, because this is my number one downfall. I never stay in motion long enough to see the results, and then I'm like, I quit. Like,
girl, us married women who have like, supportive husbands who just love us no matter how thick we get, we got the it's the worst for us, because it's like, oh, he think I'm cute, okay, I don't need to wait on
that's
this
all that matters. Yeah.
It's
so bad.
It's actually bad, because it's like, it doesn't. That's how I told my husband. I was like, you gotta start like, telling me, like, I don't know, telling me I'm getting fat in my jeans. He's like, so you can freaking murder me? No thanks. I like my life.
Exactly.
The only thing that motivates
Don't do that.
me is if he's working out. I'm like, oh, you trying to be cuter than me? Like, now I gotta get up.
Girl, twice a day, my husband in the gym, twice a day.
See?
And I just look at him and I roll my eyes. I'm like, what?
Like, won't be me.
Oh my gosh, we are coming up on time. I've learned, like, my mind is blown right now. I've learned so much. We always do this at the end, where it's like, if you could leave the listeners with anything, like end of the class, last sort of like tip or advice that you want to leave people with, what would it be related to productivity?
My final tip.
Mm-hmm.
Really, so many people have asked me this, and I always have a different answer depending on the audience, depending on like you guys and stuff.
Our audience are tired of adulting. We're like, struggle is real.
If you don't do anything else for yourself, at least control the way you start and end the day. Meaning, put in place a routine, a morning routine and an evening routine. Take control of at least the first couple hours of your day and the last few hours of your day. Like, tell yourself that you're going to be the one that dictates your mood during those times and how you start and end. Because I think that a lot of us, we roll out of bed and let life happen to us with no rhyme or reason, no aim. We allow people to come in, and I'm like, man, I get one life. I'll be damned if I let somebody dictate how I live it. That's my attitude. Like, I get one life. As far as we know, no one knows what's happening after we die. So we need to treat this time like it's our last. And doing that, being very, very what's the word I want to use? Like, I just want you to take control. I want you to take control of how you start and end your day and say, hey, these two pieces of my day, they're untouchable. Don't call me, don't text me. I'm filling up my freaking cup, because you got my middle. You got my middle of the day. You have my attention during that time. If you didn't get what you were supposed to get during that time that I gave to you, then it can wait till tomorrow. Right? That's that's the biggest piece. If I can just give one piece of advice.
That's amazing. I need a new morning and night routine. I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be
do the great morning. Start off with the great morning and the easy evening. These are my like two acronyms, and I'll send you my my productivity playbook. So the great morning, it stands for gratitude, like G, gratitude. R, read. So like read something like a personal development book, something that can actually, get your juices flowing, right? E, exercise, meaning move your body. You don't have to do what my husband does and go spend like an hour and a half at the gym, but you could just turn on the 8Fit app, do an 8-minute quick workout, get your body moving, or you can go and walk around the lake or whatever, but whatever that is, just move your body. Yeah. A, I call it activate boss mode. That means like while you're doing your skin routine and all that stuff, start giving yourself saying affirmations to yourself, like get yourself pumped like for the day, or listen to the Fearless Motivation playlist on Spotify. That's a really great thing to do when you're activating boss mode, because them people, they will drag you. Those guys will drag you on there because they have these motivational speeches to music, and it just makes you feel like convicted, makes you want to start the day. And then the T stands for talk to one person who brings you joy. So that means like, don't be sparking conversations with people, talk to people first thing in the morning. Like just have, talk to one person who will bring you joy, who you can talk to about something that's lighthearted, fun, so that you can enter into your day. That's the great morning routine. My husband and I, whenever we do the whole talk to one person, we just have a quick coffee. We talk about our goals for that day. We talk about like what we want to accomplish. And that's that. And I usher into my day. The easy evening is evaluate at the end of the day, right? Evaluate your efforts, right? Did you get the 1 to 3 needle moving tasks done that you set out to get done, right? And actually the nighttime is the time to set those goals for the next day. Pro tip. All right. Set the goals that you want to accomplish the next day, the night before, right? Evaluate your efforts at night. Did you complete it or not? Does it need to go on to the next day? Why? And then A, abandon the day's ambitions. That means give yourself a non-negotiable stop time. If you have to stop working at 7, stop working at 7, because anything that you were going to keep working on, it could wait, to the next day. S, serve yourself on a silver platter. That means choose one self-care activity that you can do. For me, sometimes it's a hot bath, sometimes it's a glass of wine, sometimes it's a cigar with my husband on the porch. You know what I mean? Whatever it is for that night. And then why? Yield to the moon. That means have your non-negotiable sleep time. Get your 7 to 8 hours. Yes. Okay? Because no one or nothing is worth depriving yourself of sleep. Not even that Netflix series Manifest or whatever it else that people are binging. I love these Netflix series and stuff too, but save them for your non-negotiable self-care day, so that you can get the proper amount of hours that you need to be useful and functional the next day.
Yeah.
So those are, I just dropped like 2.
You just dropped.
I'm about to say it was so much information.
I'm sorry. And that was like, but I'm impressed with myself because I was like in like a couple minutes. I didn't take too long to explain.
Those 2 things alone are so helpful because I've been wanting to implement a morning and evening routine, and I just was like, where do I start? What should I, whatever. And so that was wildly helpful for me. So I know it will be helpful for other people too.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm glad. I'm so happy.
So good.
No, thank you. You had so much information. Where can we find you at on the socials? Where can we listen to your podcast? Just plug away.
Okay, so social, you guys know I'm most active on Instagram at @MissUnconventional_, because some random person has Miss Unconventional that doesn't even use the thing, but okay. The Productive Boss Podcast is my podcast, the Productive Boss Podcast, and my website, which is, I'm working on it. It's missunconventional.com. And if your audience, they want a freebie, I have created this Conquer Your Chaos blueprint. And it walks you through my Conquer method, which is another acronym. Not going to take up time explaining what that is. You can go download Conquer Your Chaos blueprint at conqueryourchaosblueprint.com. And yeah, I'm actually about to launch the Conquer Your Chaos crash course. It's coming within the next couple of weeks. That's what I've been working on. And so it's going to lead people into that. So I'm super excited.
Thank you so much. This is like one of my favorite episodes ever. Seriously.
A lot of information, a lot of helpful, beneficial information. So.
Amazing. You're welcome back anytime. Seriously, we'll have to do like a follow-up next year and check in and see how everyone's doing with their productivity.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, mind blown. Like,
dope information.
So good. Like we said in the intro, we were taking notes. So yeah, honestly, like follow all those socials that we dropped. They're also going to be in the show notes. Visit her website. We'll put that in the show notes as well. She has tons of really great information. I've been stalking her since the interview, so it's fine. But if you like this episode, be sure to leave a review wherever you're listening. It really helps. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the future gems we're about to be dropping.
Yes. Tell a friend, as always. And also follow us on the socials. Done with Adulting Pod on Insta. And Done WTH Adulting on Twitter.
Lit.